guys like that, or even like Rich Dad Poor Dad, because like I'm reading, they're like find 5 mentors in your life, five mentors, find them. Or they'd say like have 3 types of people in your life: somebody you can learn from, somebody you can work with, and somebody that you can teach. And I'd get so mad because I'm like, I'm alone. Like, what are you talking about? Like, the only thing I have is a blacked out van, and my dad's in a trailer next to me. Like, I don't have anybody. I have nobody to talk to.
Yeah. What's up, brother?
What's going on, bro? How you doing?
Doing well, man. Welcome to the podcast. So for those people who don't know, or those who already do know, there's Anthony Mendoza. Welcome in. Your credentials, they precede you, right? You've been in title, you've been in marketing, you've been lending. You come from a family of real estate, so lots of experience there. And now you're in business development. So I'm excited to jump into these different aspects of your life and see where you're at and where you're going. So that's why I wanted to bring you on. Very excited. We actually haven't physically seen each other probably 3-4 years.
Yeah, it's been about, I'd say about 3 years.
3-4 years, right?
Yeah.
It was definitely pre-pandemic.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so it's been a while. So I wanted to start here. So where we met each other, you were working at Reliant Title, and you were a sales rep, right?
Yeah.
So very cool. I remember just a very cool story. I remember 4 or 5 years ago. I think it's 5 years ago now. We were making videos together, and it's crazy to see how the market has shifted. As far as marketing, right? Like advertising. Because during that time, you were talking about video, right?
100%. Yeah. It was. We were talking about video before everybody was screaming about it.
Yeah.
Right. So it was when we were talking and planning out all these different videos, everything, it's everybody knew they had to do it, but it wasn't common in the marketplace yet.
Yeah.
It was, so-and-so does it. We need a production team. You needed this, that, and the other. And you still had all of these guys that were like, you need to do it. You need to do it. You need to do it. But nobody's really doing it. Now it feels like it's commonplace in the market to where everybody is air quotes doing video.
Yeah.
But where we're at 5 years ago, it was so much fun because we can be a little creative and push some of the boundaries without it being I've seen 10 of those videos so far. You know what I mean? And there wasn't I want to say guide rails on it. It was just, hey, let's plan some stuff. Let's see where it goes and let's have some fun with it.
Yeah, it was very cool, man. I think I still have it up. It was the truffles and bacon video, right? We end up sitting down with a restaurant owner. We do a whole review. I felt like Guy Fieri at the time, to be honest. We're reviewing food, and then we're raffling off gift cards. So it's really cool at that time where we were. Also doing giveaways on the high roller, right? Giving away Lululemon gift cards. We did a video at Green Valley. So there was just a lot of video concepts that I feel we had 5 years ago. They're oh, well, that's normal now.
Yeah. Well, and so quick tangent here. The funny stories is which is so funny that we haven't seen each other in so long, because we were heavily invested in doing this together, right?
Yeah.
The Lululemon one, I think, was probably my funniest memory, because it's literally hey, what's a video that we can do? It's okay, let's give away. So you're let's give away some Lululemons, because they were hot, they're still hot, but they were the pop-ups were happening and everything. So we walk into a Lululemon pop-up, and Rich goes up to the front counter and tells the lady let me throw $100 on a gift card. We're doing a raffle. And if you've ever been to a Lululemon, the chick behind the counter is usually young, peppy, da. This chick was $100, that's it. And me and this dude both looked at each other and were like, these are leggings. What do you mean that's it? That's 2 pairs of leggings, right? What are you talking about? And she was $100 isn't gonna get you anything in here. You're gonna give somebody a gift card and they're gonna have to pay for the rest of their leggings. We're how much do we need to put on there? She was minimum $150. Yeah. And both of us looked at each other, were oh, okay, can we do that? Probably the greatest salesman ever. I've never been sold so hard on just being upsell to $150, except for that date. But yeah, when we were doing the Lululemon giveaway, the chick is seriously just the rudest employee ever, but the greatest salesman at the same time.
Yeah. No, it was crazy, man. So just during that time, I wanted to reflect on that just because it was so impactful, and I'm thinking about it right now. I'm like, man, all these people blew up on social media, especially during COVID, because nobody did anything else, and I feel like I missed the boat, but I did it because I'm being more active with my brand.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking about, man, like what happens if we stay consistent with that branding and marketing every single day. I'm like, oh, how many followers do we have?
Right.
But besides the point, let's get into this. So we met at Reliant, and you were doing sales, or you were a title rep. And how long did you do that for?
Ooh, with Reliant 2 years. So I was a title rep at Reliant Title for 2 years. Reliant Title got purchased by or acquired by WFG National Title.
Yeah.
Stayed a title rep there for like maybe a month until they offered a position at West, which is like their sister company, for a marketing role. Picked up that marketing role. I did that for probably another 2 or 3 years, and then ended up branching out into lending. Decided to be a lender. I got licensed in lending a little over a year. I'd say, yeah, a little over a year ago, about a year and a half, almost 2 years now. And during that time of being a lender, I found out what I do and don't like.
Yeah,
and then started my own marketing company a year ago. And then I've been blowing that up, and that's been like wildfire and everything my heart desires in one inside of that. But to give you a little backstory on that entire journey, because I really surmised it. Really short.
You gave us a timeline. So you went from WFG to West to lending and then to marketing company.
Yeah.
So real quick on West. So what'd you do at West? Was it like marketing?
Yeah. So when we met at Reliant, we were talking about like video marketing and all these different types of things. So to give you kind of the natural story and kind of give everybody a little look into my life. Before I got started, even in title and escrow, I have a strong sales background, right? Yeah. And not in a traditional sense. So like most guys go and like for some reason it's T-Mobile. I don't know why. Like every real estate agent I know, like they started selling phones at T-Mobile.
Yeah.
But it's like they had some kind of sales background, right? Or they sold this and the other. Well, my sales background comes from belly to belly sales at fairs, carnivals, road shows, and things like that. So the whole story you always heard of like I'm gonna run away and join the circus, like I literally did that. So when I was in high school, my dad came downstairs and was like, hey, we're going to go to Fresno.
Okay.
And if anybody's ever been to Fresno, you know that it's not a place that you just like are in love to go to. Like you're not like, we're going to Disneyland.
Yeah.
Fresno, California. It's not the bomb. But he's got family down there. So I was like, oh, maybe we're going to go see family and do this, that, and the other. We didn't. We ended up going down there and picking up about 600 rusty plow blades. So literally like plow blades that till the ground, pull shit out of the earth and make it ready so they can continue to farm. They like cultivate the ground with it. At the time I had no idea why. I was just like, okay, my dad's crazy. He's always been crazy. He's kind of a loped out little Mexican dude. Always been wild. Let's do this. I think it's going to be the next weekend. It ends up being like my Sadie Hawkins dance, and I'm in high school. Yeah. I'm like, I finally got asked. I was all excited. I had a cool little shirt and outfit that some chick bought me. I didn't have to buy myself some stuff for once. I was like, let's go, baby.
Yeah.
That day, he's like, today's the day. Comes downstairs, grabs me. I'm in my fit, ready to go to this dance. We peel off in this like old Chevy truck we got. Girlfriend at the time pulls up, her mom screaming at us as we're leaving because I'm like calling her like, I gotta go. So we end up going and picking up these plow blades. Fast forward that a year, me and my dad are welding barbecue pits together.
Okay.
Right? And my dad wasn't a welder. I'm not a welder.
Yeah.
None of us were welders. But being, I guess, like natural hustlers, you're seeing opportunity to make some money and do it. So where he grew up originally in California, older Hispanic males would take these plow blades and turn them into discadas, and they would fry like carnitas in them and everything. Before the big copper pans were big, or the stainless steel or aluminum pans that you see at like the swap meet that Amates now.
Yeah.
Before they were big. So they were actually made from plow discs originally. So he's like, we could turn these into plow blades. We can make some money. He's not making any money. This is like recession's happening, blah, blah, blah. So we start welding them together. And then we get to the point in the business where like, okay, well, now we have a bunch of these super ugly barbecues put together. What do we do with them now? And that's sell them, right? You need to make some money. So naturally, what do when you need to sell something? You go stand on a street corner and you try to sell it.
Yeah.
So we started getting kicked off of street corners, like one after another, dude. I'm talking police escorts outside of Bass Pro shops, where like I have pictures of us like set up in front of Bass Pro, all happy, and they're like, "Police escort, you gotta leave. You can't sell this. There's a no solicitation thing here." Da 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 da. Or we're loitering or any of that. So I kind of at a young age got really accustomed to getting my teeth kicked in sales, where it's like, by the time I hit professional sales and everybody's afraid of getting no's, like no is my favorite word, because that's the only thing I ever heard. No, kid, your weld sucks. This is ugly. Like fuck you, like all of these like really mean things. But like we naturally transition to other things. So it's like from street corners we started doing swap meets. From swap meets we went to farmers markets. From farmers markets we started doing marketplaces, and then marketplaces to fairs. From fairs to road shows, to where we ended up having our own route, and then we knew which ones were the best for us, and we started making money. So it's like we were developing this business trial by fire, like as we were going. And then the entire time it was like sales. I have so many sales stories from that era, and it was like, at the time I was really mad, because I was like, I'm in high school, I'm missing out on high school, I'm never going to go to college because my grades are so bad. And like I ended up getting written off as Title I homeless, because I didn't like technically have a place to live, because I lived in a van. So they're like I had a home address with my parents, but because I was gone every weekend and running around, like I needed an explanation for it. So like the counselor at the time was like, just say you're homeless, like you live in your van in California and all of these places, just say that. I was like, okay, perfect. So that saved me from getting like not getting a diploma at the end, because of my absences were so many. So it was like that natural transition. So instead of going to college and even being in high school most of the time, like I'm learning business firsthand. I'm learning like what people expect when you say you're going to do something. Like, hey, I'm going to deliver this at your house at this time. Or I'm starting to learn how, like, okay, well, if you give me a roadblock because your wife's not available to talk to you about this purchase, like, how can I negotiate a guy out of that? So like, and at the time it was more fun. Like I wouldn't do it like if I'm trying to sell him a house now or something. Like, oh, your wife's not home, does she make all of your decisions for you? You know, but it's like you start learning these like little cheeky things that you can say to people, whether it's a husband or wife or a couple together, and learning how to start to sell them. Right. And at the time, like I started putting myself through a little college where I'm reading a lot of different books, like 48 Laws of Power. I'm learning how to win friends and influence people, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm learning all of the books that you kind of naturally read as you're progressing through sales and business and everything, and understanding like how much psychology goes into a sale and then how to market. So like at the same time of that, when we say we're doing this natural progression through events to fairs to all of this, like we're meeting so many cool people. And when you say like us 5 years ago coming up with ideas, like dude, this is 10 years ago when people didn't even know what Instagram was, right? So like there is a guy, his name's Chris Wallace, not like Biggie Smalls, but a different, like actually complete opposite, big bearded white guy, who came out with seasonings, and their Flavor God seasonings. At the time he was Skinny Sauces. So like he was a huge inspiration to me at the time, because he was leveraging Instagram like nobody had ever seen. Like he was constantly posting new recipes. He was giving out a bunch of free ingredients to gym owners and gyms and fitness people and chefs. And I didn't understand at the time, like, why are you giving everything away? Shouldn't you be trying to sell this to him? Because again, hustler mentality, like I'm walking around with a backpack full of selfie sticks trying to sell everything I can, and this dude's just like, no, here, give. And then to see him now when he's got like 6 million followers on Instagram, warehouses full of seasonings, like a distribution list like you wouldn't believe inside of huge supermarkets, like it's crazy to see like even that, like somebody that had like a booth next to me to a warehouse and a distribution chain, where it's like that was the spark for me when it came to social media and marketing, where I was like, you can do that from posting a picture, you can make a video and get there. And I'm at the time like 16, 17, and I'm like, I'm gonna take over the world. I live on this cell phone. This cell phone is everything. I want to be the man on this thing. So you start researching it. So instead of books, now I'm like watching videos and listening to podcasts, and I'm nerding out. I'm doing all this stuff. And then I started doing it for our own business, right? And then we start selling bigger stuff, right? So I ended up selling a smoker that could fit like 4 of us in it to a restaurant. Yeah. And now we're doing videos of restaurants. And it's like, it was so cool at the time to be doing that. And it felt like we were like revolutionizing our business and growing with it. But the problem with growing is there's growing pains. And then again, being so young at the time, like I didn't understand a lot of like how to manage the other side of it, right? So it's like I focused so heavy on the sales and the marketing and all this stuff. I didn't focus on the other stuff. So as you do when you become 17 and you're living in a van, you fall in love with a girl, and this happens and that happens. Yep. And then girl gets pregnant, and then I need a real job because I can't live in a van with a baby on the way.
Yeah.
So I take everything I learned there, and as you would naturally do, I go become a welder instead of focusing on the marketing and sales. I ended up welding, and then from welding, I hated it. Not that I hated welding, I was very good at that part of it, but I hated that I couldn't talk to people. I hated that I couldn't do this, and that I was just in a room, and the only thing that mattered was the time I woke up to the time that I got done with that job, and then I'd go home, sleep, wake up, and repeat. And it felt like I was in the Matrix, right? Yeah. I'm constantly doing the same thing, and that drove me crazy. So when Alyssa, like, we got serious about, hey, we have a kid on the way, we need to figure out what our life's going to look like. I quit my job with like no safety net. I was just like, we'll figure it out, but being a welder isn't it for me, right? This isn't going to be my thing forever. Some people do it and they love it, and they create the coolest things in the world. Like, welders are such hard asses and cool dudes. But I just knew my time was going to be best spent somewhere else, right? Which was in sales and marketing. And so I become a notary to try to get some type of professionalism in my life. Ended up doing a lot of notaries at Reliant Title. Got a chance to meet Kevin Jones. He's the one that gave me the shot into the industry, which is funny because like so much of my family's in the industry anyway. And I think at first I rejected it because everybody else was doing it. So I was like, I rebel without a cause, right? I always had that rebel mentality because of the living in the van and doing our own little business. So he gave me a shot, felt like I fell backwards into it, and just started selling. And then during that time period is when I was like, met you and met a bunch of other agents and started turning what I did before with the marketing and the sales for Real Estate Pits and other businesses I was working with into something that I can replicate with businesses and with people so that we can grow their brands and not focus on mine. And that's when like that spark ignited for me, and to the point where we were chasing guys like Gary Vaynerchuk down to go see him in like Salt Lake City. Like, I have a big pregnant wife, and like we're driving through the snow to go see him because we're just so excited and passionate about sales and marketing and being able to hear people talk and connect with people and network and all of this. So it's like being able to have the opportunity at Reliant to turn what I was already passionate about into something that was tangible, that gave me the opportunity to buy a house and become a real professional was such a change in life. And it felt like there is when stuff just started falling into place. So that was like kind of backstory leading into like how I started falling backwards and why this is a real thing for me. Because I get people all the time that ask us like, okay, well, everybody in 2022 is a marketer, right? Because we all have Instagrams and Facebooks, and yes, we're all influencers, we're all creators, we're all marketers. But like, I like to think that at least when I say it, it's because I like I live and die by this sword, right? I'm constantly thinking about innovative ways to market businesses, to stand out from the rest, and to do it in a way that other people aren't doing it, so that you have some type of edge on it and can make it fun, and it matches your business and matches your personality and all of that. So that initial opportunity was one of those moments where like I always look back on it and I'm like, they took a chance, it was cool, like I'm so thankful for it, and those were like kind of golden years of like that tide turning for me, if you will. So that's your underdog story right there. That's man. Yeah, I mean that's how it all began. That was my origin story. Yeah. and it's always evolved from there, man. I mean, like I can go for hours and tell you all of these different stories, but it was so much going on that it was so awesome.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. You know what? I've never heard that story actually. I didn't know that you sold pits and you know, I didn't know you sold a lot of those things. I think I remember you talking about going into the circus, but I didn't hear the rest of it. So that's pretty cool, man. It's very intriguing, and I'm thankful that I get to hear it first, right? Everybody else gets to hear it next.
Yeah.
After this, so I had a question while that was coming up. There's a few different things. So what skill do you think that you took away from, or let's say your top one to three skills? What do you think you took away from those life lessons instead of being in high school, and actually just going into the real world? What's the most valuable skills that you took away from that?
Top three skills that I took away from not living, I want to say, like a traditional life.
Yeah.
One that I think probably the first one is not being afraid to take chances.
Yeah.
And even now today, like even with mortgages and car payments and kids and stuff, it's like we're never afraid to say, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to go do it, and then we'll figure out the rest later.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's necessarily a skill as much as it is just like a component of our lives, but I think that's probably one of the most important things, is because I talk to so many people and they're like, man, I don't know if I want to take the leap. Like, I'm scared to do this or I'm scared to do that. Where living a vagabond lifestyle, there was no time to be afraid. You know what I mean? You're always living in the moment, and you're not worried about where you're going to eat tomorrow. You're not worried about what you're going to eat today. You know that when you're hungry, you're going to get some food. You know that when a bill comes up, you're going to pay it. And there's people that live that the opposite, where they have an abundance of wealth, and that's how they can live like that. But even having no money, we're able to live the same lifestyle because we just weren't afraid of it. You know what I mean? So I think that's one of them.
So hitting on that point as well, you're saying take the leap, because for me it took a little while as well. However, like, not to go into that backstory right now, when your energy is put in two places, it's really hard to grow something, right? And by you taking that leap, just from me personally knowing as well, COVID was the best thing that happened to me, because it allowed me to take that leap at a deeper level, and it allowed me to actually grow something versus, the saying, if you're doing everything, you're doing nothing.
Right.
So you got to focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
And especially with social media nowadays, it's like your attention span is it's everywhere, right?
Right.
So just focusing on one thing allows you to build that compound interest into whatever you're doing. So yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah, and you see the quote all the time, especially on social. It's like 6 months of consistency will move your life 5 years forward.
Yeah,
it is true. And whenever I go through any of this stuff with anybody, it's like, if they have other jobs or anything, like, just time block. Because if you're time blocking, then well, these couple of hours, I'm going to do the one thing that I want to do with the most focus on just this thing, right? So if you are spread thin, if you are working a normal job so that you can pay the bills, and then the passion comes second, just when you're working on the passion, block it out in a way that when you're giving that passion time, that you're giving it all of its time that it needs, right? And then you can grow it. Because if it's, hey, I have 2 hours a day that I know I can give to real estate. Okay, well, those 2 hours a day, what are the main things that you can do to move that needle forward, right? And then just do those activities. Don't do anything else. Like, focus on the activities that move the needle and only do that. Like, if anybody are readers and they want a book recommendation on this specific subject, Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week is perfect, because the whole book is about identifying the things that move the needle forward for your business or yourself as fast as possible, doing those and outsourcing the rest, right? Because so many people focus on the busy work, because usually what moves the needle forward for us in our lives and our business are the hard conversations. Yeah. Right? The phone calls, the cold calls, the conversation to fire or to hire, the call to our mom and dad that something is good or bad, or all of those hard conversations, what really moves the needle for us. So if we can focus on doing those and then outsource the rest, which in real estate or in most businesses, like, you can outsource so much anymore. That's how you can make the most out of the time possible. But identifying those and then doing those is key.
Yeah, well, what's my key performance indicators for sure? And to add on to that book collection that you're starting for everyone, you've mentioned like 12 books already. It's great. Just taking notes.
I read, man.
So,
I read.
No, and you have to, right? The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
And then to go deeper into it, Gary Keller, he wrote The One Thing. It's literally, what is my one thing today that I have to focus on to move the needle forward? It's same as that concept. Just at a billionaire level, right? This dude's a billionaire, so I'm going to live. What would you say? Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, what's the one thing I got to do? And it's about doing that first and letting the rest of the smaller pieces fall in later on. But if you get the one thing, man, even if you did nothing else today and you just did that one thing, you're gonna grow your business so much more because of the compound interest we talked about earlier.
Exactly. Well, and it's I can't remember the beginning of the quote, but the quote ends with standing on the shoulders of giants. Right. Yeah. So growing up the way I grew up, I never had the ability to have a mentor. Right. So like when I grew up, I was so mad at these guys that would like what was the guy with the Ferraris and the books? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, the Ty Lopez.
Ty Lopez.
Oh my God.
What's up, everybody? Yeah, it's a cool car, but you know what's better than this? Knowledge. I used to be so angry at guys like that, or even like Rich Dad Poor Dad, because like I'm reading, they're like find 5 mentors in your life, five mentors, find them. Or they'd say like have 3 types of people in your life: somebody you can learn from, somebody you can work with, and somebody that you can teach. And I'd get so mad because I'm like, I'm alone. Like, what are you talking about? Like, the only thing I have is a blacked out van, and my dad's in a trailer next to me. Like, I don't have anybody. I have nobody to talk to.
Yeah.
I have no. So it's like, I'd get so angry at some of these guys that are like, you need a mentor, you needed this, you needed that. Where it took me forever, and I think it just came from maturing as a man to say, you know what? I don't need a mentor that I can physically talk to. I just need one that I can learn from. And that's when I started reading. And that's when I started picking up books, because it felt like a conversation with them. And my conversation was, I would read, and then I would ask the questions in a journal. And I'd write, okay, well, this stood out to me. Here's this question that I want to answer. And then I would either have conversations with people that I'm meeting throughout the day, or read more and answer my own question. So that was my dialogue with myself, or with whoever I wanted to mentor me. Granted, I didn't get to ever meet any of these guys, but yeah, if you can't find, like, if you're in a position like I was, where you can't find a mentor, or you're like, I don't have somebody in my life that is a millionaire or a billionaire or a business owner or this or that, you do, but you just don't know it yet, because at any time you can go on Amazon and pick up a book. You can go to Barnes & Noble and pick up a book. You can go on Audible, Spotify, or any other thing to listen to one. You can find a podcast about it. There's just so much access to information at our fingertips that once you start with one thing, like it becomes so addicting, and it becomes like a game where you're like, as long as I get out of the mindset of poor me, and that I'm alone in this, and that all of that, you realize that you're surrounded by people that want to help you, that want to give back, and you just don't know how to accept it.
You know what's great about that? What you just said, right? The getting out of poor me and getting away from the victim mindset. Mm-hmm. Once you start taking ownership and you start meeting mentors and coaches, they want to abundantly transfer everything to you, just like the Flavor God person, right?
Yeah.
And I say this a lot, like, the more you give, the more you grow.
Right.
And that's why they say, pick someone you can learn from, pick someone who's the same level, and pick someone that you can teach. It's because the more you give, you're allowing yourself to grow, because you're abundantly transferring your knowledge into someone else.
Right.
And someone else is going to do the same. People that are millionaires, billionaires, they want to give you the knowledge. Because we need to level everyone up, right? Mm-hmm. If we're in scarcity, it's impossible to grow. Because people who are scarce think they need to save. Right. People who are abundant invest. Right. And investments, you're getting exponential. You're getting multiplication. Right. Mm-hmm. With saving, you're not doing that type of math. Right.
Exactly.
At least mentally.
Yeah. Well, and to go off of that, when we talk about like investing, like, it's not just money.
Yeah. It's not just money.
Time.
Yeah.
Like, time is the biggest investment that we have. Mm-hmm. Like I would rather invest time than money any day. Yep. Like, I'm a very hardcore, like, sweat equity kind of guy. And not to be the guy that just like comes on here and throws out a million books at everybody.
No, go
But
for
when
it.
we even like these guys wanted to give you information and access to tell you what they're doing. When I first started at Reliant, I was reading the 50th Law. Like I had read the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. I was a super big nerd for 50 Cent because he's probably one of the greatest businessmen of our generation, and people just don't know it. Like, no, I'm not even lying.
Well,
like,
I know he sold water,
dude.
yeah.
He vitamin water to Coca-Cola, right? Yeah. Like, and then every other thing that he did, he's a very, very intelligent businessman to set up the way he set it up. But he wrote a book alongside with Robert Greene that was a sequel to 48 Laws of Power, and it's a very short, quick read. It's not the best book I've ever read, but there's a passage in it that talks about how he became so successful. And one of them was that whenever somebody was better than him at something, he would go to that person and ask them why they were so much better. So instead of being like, no, F that guy, he's not that great. I know one day I'm going to get mine. I'm just going to keep grinding. I'm going to keep doing it. That's not the right mindset. Nope. So instead of being like, chip on your shoulder, like, no, one day I'm going to be better. Granted, you might be, but one day takes a long time when you could do it literally in one day. And the way you do it in one day, instead of pitching one day you'll do it, is you go up to that person and you say, hey, Rich, I see that you're doing X, Y, and Z things extremely well. I really want to learn how to do those things. Why are you getting such better results than me when I do those same things? And you're going to say, well, what are you doing? Let me see. And then you look at what they're doing. You're going to analyze the person that's asking you the question, and you're going to give them an answer. Mm-hmm. And now that person has homework to get better, right? Whenever anybody's ever been better than me at sales or anything else, I'll ask them, like, well, why are you better? And they're like, oh, well, I'm more consistent than you. Yep. Or I make these phone calls and you don't. Or, hey, I do it this way and you don't do it that way. And now I'm not recreating a process, or I'm not recreating the wheel. I'm doing it the way that I know is working, right? And if it doesn't work for me that way that they do it, I find somebody that's different than them that's doing it better than me. And I ask them, well, how do you do it? And maybe I can take a little bit from this person and a little bit from this person, and I create my own process that now works for me, that's on the same level as them. And now I can, again, stand on the shoulders of giants and grow, right? Because that's making me taller, and it's making just me better overall. So if ever you're in a position like sales, because sales is so competitive, and there's one person that's always outselling you, and you're like, I don't understand how this guy's outselling him. If you go and ask them why or how or what they're doing, they will tell you. Yeah. Right? Even though it's a competition, they're going to tell you, because the thing is that person doesn't have a scarcity mindset, right? They have a mindset of abundance, and they know as much information as I give on this topic, this person will never outwork me or outdo my thing, because I already have my stuff set up the way I'm doing it. So why not give them the knowledge and the power to do it themselves? Because I know there's so much business out there that even if we have one or two crossovers, that it doesn't matter, because I'm fishing so much. I'm fishing with nets, not just poles at that point. So that book had a great passage from that, and I've always kind of sat with that.
And that's called the 50th Law.
The 50th Law.
50th Law.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting, and I feel like this is going to be coming up over and over. Something that's really good about you that I didn't even realize. There's a saying: we grow by the level of questions that we ask, and a lot of people just are not asking the right questions to grow. And another thing is, once we have the question, we can go get the answer. Right. This isn't calculus, right? It's not like, oh, how do I figure that out? Mm-hmm. Literally, whatever question you have, you can go get the answer to, and probably within the day. Right. It's pretty quick, and especially with technology age, it's very fast to go find your answer.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and here's a hack I'm going to give you guys. So if you guys want to grow social media, find out what problems your clients are having right now and go answer those questions, right?
100%, yeah.
My clients right now, their credit sucks. All right, so what's the solution? Post a video on it. My clients don't have down payment. Go post a solution to it, right? DPA, lease to purchase. Like, there's lots of solutions. But yeah, man, that's a really good book. So we have 4-Hour Work Week. We have the 50th Law. Mm-hmm. Awesome. And then the Powers?
Yeah, 48 Laws of Power. Yeah.
48 Laws of Power.
Yeah.
Like
Funny tangent about 48 Laws. It's the number one most requested book in prison outside of the Bible.
Really?
It's also the only book at Barnes and Noble. Well, the only author at Barnes and Noble that they have to put the books behind the counter because it's the most frequently stolen book in the world.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
I can see that.
yeah, it's a funny book. It's very stoic in nature. If you read the book and you have to take it at a grain of salt. Use it to empower yourself, not to undermine others. It has a lot of great things in it in how to like navigate the workplace, how to navigate life, how to talk to people, how to understand them, and why people have certain motives about things. And whether it's in negotiation, whether it's in business or anything like that. So it's a great book. I like it a lot. I've seen people who've read it and had great results from it. I've seen people who have read it and turned assholes. So it's just like, it is definitely a book that if you read it, you digest and understand it will change your life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You know what? I love that word, digest. Because a lot of people listen, they'll hear information, but they won't listen and digest it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an important step, right? We got to process our information and digest it. And then sometimes they won't unpack it like you do, right? They won't unpack it. So,
and you've seen Fight Club?
Fight Club, yeah.
Yeah. So when the main protagonist is going to those meetings for the first time, like, you know what he says, right? Like why he goes to them?
Man, it's been like 10, 15. It's probably actually been longer than that.
Really? You got to watch the movie. Phenomenal movie. So in the beginning, so if any of you haven't seen Fight Club, watch it. It's one of the greatest movies of all time. It's on my top 5. But the main protagonist is suffering from insomnia. He's kind of nihilistic in nature, but he doesn't know who he is, right? And he doesn't know who he is because he's stuck in this super corporate job. Okay. He wakes up 9 to 5. He's stuck in the matrix, if you will, right? But he goes to these meetings where people are dying, right? So it's like testicular cancer, and the guys that only have a couple months left are going there. It's kind of like an AA group where guys can come together and cry or talk about their problems and things like that.
Yeah.
But the reason why he goes to them is he says is at these meetings, people truly listen to you. They truly hear you for what you're saying, and they don't just wait for their time to talk. Right? So I'm going to hit on that again real quick, is that when we have conversations with people, right, most of the time we don't hear what they're saying. We're just waiting to talk. We're waiting to answer our next question, right? Yeah. Not answer theirs or, oh my God, that was great. I want to know more about that. And when you can make that change in conversation, you'll have way better conversations with people because you take the time to understand them instead of just being heard. And like, understandably, we all want to be heard.
Yeah.
Like everybody wants to be noticed. That's why we honk at people. That's why we wave when somebody's waving to the guy behind us. That's why we post on social media. We all want to be heard. We all want to be seen. We all want to be a part of the overall group. But in order to do that effectively, we have to hear and see other people, right? And then we can become better communicators. And when we become better communicators, we just become better people overall. So yeah, to touch on that, on digesting information, it's like when you're having a conversation, it doesn't have to be fast.
Yeah.
It could be slow and then listen and understand, and then you can answer and go off of that.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in one of my older coaching programs, that's actually something I learned, right? And I think that skill comes with, I feel like it comes with maturity, right? Because when you're younger and you're debating, you're arguing, you're just like, oh, hold on, shut up so I can say something, right?
Yeah.
Especially with, you listen to these sports shows and they're just yelling over each other, right? This is why I'm right. That's why I'm right? But once you get into maturity and you take courses like NLP, like neuro-linguistics programming, that stuff helped me a lot. Because it's like, all right, I have to listen for the answer because I have to be able to ask a deeper question. I have to be able to, touch on subjects and understand what you're saying so I can, form a deeper relationship with you.
Right.
Because it's hard for you to trust me if you don't think I'm listening to you, right? If you just think, oh, I'm just waiting to respond, it's going to be really hard for us to have a conversation, right? Even where we're at right now. This was completely unplanned. I didn't know how we got here. I have no idea, right? I have a total agenda what I want to talk about. I'm like, all right, well, let's just go with this. But it's important to definitely listen and hear other people, what they're saying, and definitely digest that information. So that way you can unpack it. something I wanted to move to was now, you own a marketing, or you own a business development company now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've known that you would be doing this. I freaking, like, I knew this from the first time I met you. I was like, dude, this guy's gonna own a marketing company. I even told you, I was like, well, I don't know why you're doing what you're doing, and you're not owning a marketing company. Like, that's what I would be doing if I wasn't in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Like myself, that's literally what I think I would like to do. Especially back then, just thinking about how it does. So I'd love to hear more about that. Like, and you don't have to tell me any secrets if you don't want to.
Oh no, I'll give you everything. Yeah.
But yeah, I'd love to hear about that. This is the first time actually, we're talking about it. So you own a business developing. Yeah, so what do you do?
So so without just giving you guys the nitty gritty and turning into a sales speech here of like my elevator pitch,
it can be whatever it is.
To make it that real quick, when you said I knew you were going to do this so long ago, I've been so afraid to tell people that this is what I'm doing, and I've been doing it for a year. Yeah. And I can't tell you exactly why that I've been scared to put it out to the world while I'm doing it, right? Like, I mean, we're a full scale agency. I probably have 12 different employees right now. We outsource a lot. We do a lot in-house, the whole nine. But whenever I sit with somebody that I've known for a while and they go, oh, I knew you were going to do that. I knew you were going to do that. It's so funny to me because it's like, I know why it took me so long. Just like anybody, as like rough and tough as I talk about, oh, don't be afraid to just do it. Don't be afraid to just do it. Da 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 da. This specifically, I had such a fear of failure and imposter syndrome when it came into doing this. Yeah. That it took me so long because it was like, I know I can do it, and I know I can do it well. And like, I may have like tiptoed around it before, or tried it with somebody, or stuff like that, like in the past 10 years of doing it. But for now, when we're finally at the point where like, we're going to burn the boats, we're going to do this, we're going all in on this. It was a complete change for me in my life, because it went from just like, oh yeah, well, I can talk about it and I can like maybe try it a little bit and give it a little bit of effort, to like, no, when I wake up in the morning, I do this. When I go to bed at night, I do this. And the next day I do it again. And then I talk about it. It's the only conversation I have. And I'm so excited about it. I'm so passionate. Like, I get back to being a little kid when I was at Reliant again, is how it feels. Yeah. But it took a long time for me to like really settle into that. Like, even now, like, our website's being developed currently. We're still like launching our social media, and a lot of that, like, I'll be honest and kind of vulnerable here, is because it's not that I'm scared of how people react to it. It's that it still feels surreal for me to do it. You know what I mean? Where it still feels like, oh well, maybe tomorrow when I wake up, I'm everything's gonna blow up and it's not gonna be there for me. And I can't tell you why. Like, I can't tell you exactly where that feeling comes from, other than that initial fear of failure, and like, oh well, if it blows up, everybody's gonna know. And I've spent so many years building this professional persona and working with all these people that if I fail, then I'm gonna be the biggest failure in the world. But it's something I'm at the point now where I'm like, fuck that. Like, who cares? Like, good. Like, fail. We'll fail forward, and we're gonna fail more. And we're gonna fail some more. Yeah. And now, now we're at the point where we have a multitude of clients, and we are hiring more people, and we're doing all this, and it's like that fear of failure is out the door, right? Like, we're no longer living in that. And I have good partners that I do it with now, and like, I align myself with the right people, and I think now this is something that we're gonna grow to insane heights. And like, I will tell you, like, the fact that we're like, even having this conversation where we're like, oh well, it's commonplace in the market, in real estate it is, right? The one thing that our company doesn't focus on is real estate, which seems counterintuitive, right? Like, my whole, everybody that knows me for real estate. We don't focus on real estate because what I've noticed is that real estate agents are extremely intelligent for the most part, and they understand marketing more than most other industries. I worked with a dentist office, and we got the dentist so busy he had to hire 4 new dentists in 1 month. Like, wow. The scale there. Imagine having to hire 4 new real estate agents your first month doing this thing.
Yeah.
Like the scale was insane. And what I noticed is like dentist offices don't do this. Dentist offices are commoditized. Everybody has to go to one, right? So what do? What's the one closest to me? Go to that one.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. With the one closest to me that takes my insurance, I'm just going to go to that one. I don't care if I like it or I don't like it. All I care is at the end of the day, my teeth are cleaned. Right? So when we started finding these little niche markets like that were so commoditized that marketing wasn't even something that they thought about, but they have such a high ticket price that they can afford to do it. They just don't do it. So instead they get a billboard or a TV commercial or something that's just kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, that's general marketing.
Yeah, that general marketing. They just, we kind of do this. We're in the newspaper. I got a guy tell me he's in the newspaper. I was like, for what? Like, why? What do you mean? What are you doing with the newspaper?
Well, and, my parents asked me, they're like, are you going to put yourself in the newspaper? What the
You're like, yeah, let me go ahead and just throw myself in. Do we still have kids on bikes with like fucking baskets in the front? They're probably electric bikes these days. But yeah, so it's like that's why I feel like we're a business development company instead of a marketing agency, because we offer everything, right?
Yeah.
We do videography. We do photography. We do graphic design. We do website development. We do SEO. We do blank, 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 blank. And anybody can do blank, 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 right? Where we focus on is generating high quality leads that convert for your business. And we do that through creating really good videos that captivate the audience, have a strong call to action, and push them over to a lead form or a funnel that we build.
Yeah.
We have our own proprietary software that's a CRM that we actually developed and we use, so all of our clients have access to our CRM, that they go in, all the leads come in. It doesn't matter if they message you on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Google My Business, they send you a text message, a call, or an email. It's all going to one source in a conversation step. So we have it set up to where whoever our point of contact is, that is their sales center or their salesperson in these businesses, they have one login and they get to see everything there. It shows them all of their social media for the month. It shows them how much they're spending on different platforms for advertising, what their general online reputation looks like via Google My Business. So are you getting good reviews or bad reviews? What are your reviews trending like? What keywords are sticking out to them? All of that. And this is all of our own software that we give out to our clients. That was a huge turning point for me within this last year, is finally getting that and being able to hand that over to people, because it's like, now we're not just a marketing agency. Like, I can resell this software and we become a SaaS company, right? So it's like living in the world of business development is so cool, because I can play tech nerd because we have our own software. I can play marketing nerd because we go in there and create marketing plans for people.
Yeah. I
can play website guy for the day. Like, we're just here to help people develop more business.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been doing. That's where I've been kind of hidden, because if you go on my social media, like, Anthony doesn't post anymore and I don't make videos anymore, I don't do any of this. It's because like my head has been so wrapped around and focused doing this that like it almost leaves no time for anything else. And I had a breakfast with one of my creative directors this morning, and he was like, well, what's the next step? And I'm like, the next step is for us to start doing 10 to 20 videos a week.
Yeah.
Like, that's the next step. That, like, we have our team set up, we have our process set up, we now have an office, we're moving into a bigger space in December. But in order to grow and scale, now we need to do what we do for other people for us.
Yeah.
Because we have all of the moving parts. So if anybody's expecting to see any more of me, that's where you're going to see it, is going to be online, and we're going to hit really hard, and we're going to stay extremely consistent, and we're going to just pump out as much information as possible, because the way that I see our business moving forward is in 3 moving parts.
Okay.
And think of it almost as 3 phases, right? So if you did the real estate thing that we all do, the magic wand, right? I'm sure everybody's sat with a title rep and they've given you the magic wand scenario where it's, if I can wave a magic wand in your business and your business look like this in a year, what would it look like? My magic wand scenario is that my business has 3 phases to it. Phase 1 is we are a LMS online, so a learning center online. You can come into our site and you can learn about business, you can learn about marketing, you can learn about tech, you can learn about video editing, photography, all of that. So whatever moving part I have, the head of that department, I'm going to have them go on and make videos about what it is they do and give all of the secrets and all of the tips on how to do it. Right? So phase 1 is we're giving everything away. Yeah. All of our tips, all of our tactics, all of our strategies, we're going to give it all away. Phase 2 is, as business owners start taking these classes, all for free, by the way, they start taking these classes, they start learning more about how to grow their business and develop it online or in person or however they decide to do it. They want to start picking up different pieces, right? So let's say you took a class on videography, and now you're creating more reels and short clips for TikTok. And you're like, wow, I'm starting to get a lot of people that are engaging with certain videos. Maybe I want to take the top video and turn it into an advertisement. But you don't want to take the class for advertising yet. You just want to pay somebody to do it. We'll have an a la carte menu that you can find that person, and then one of our team members will do it for you. So think of like a glorified Fiverr or Upwork, right? So you're learning about stuff and you need some type of help to kind of to bridge that, right? And then phase 3 is full service. So we come into your business, identify what it is that you need and how we can help you grow, and then put together a plan on it and do full service. X amount of videos a month, advertising, online reputation, the whole 9. And then we give you packages that are built around that. The funny thing about this whole 3-phase thing is that we have to start at phase 3 and then move up to phase 1 to get to 2. Because starting with just giving a bunch of free information away doesn't really grow a business. So we start right now, we're at the full service phase where we're meeting with businesses, growing their business, and then we're using the funding that we're getting from there to continue to hire more people on our team so that we can go from 3 to 2 to 1. And then hopefully in a year we're at 1 with our own LMS and our own learning center and all of that.
You know what I love about that is that you start as a salesperson, right? Belly to belly, and and I've said this before. The only reason that you are in sales is because you don't know how to market. Mm-hmm. But once you know how to market, you can go hire salespeople to sell. Right. And the only reason you're in marketing is because you don't have a product. So what you're doing right here, from what I see, is, especially with the education, right? Basically, marketing, all it is education. It's all education. Right. You're basically educating someone on why they think they need this product in a clever way, right? In whatever way that is. I know sometimes there's outlandish marketing where it's more like, oh, I'm going to show like something attractive. But for the most part, it's educating, right? If I educate you through a post or through a video like that you can buy a home with no money down, I'm just educating you, right? I'm not selling you anything. And then I'm going to educate my consumer or my client to the point to where they want to do something. And I'm not even convincing them to do anything. Yeah. It's literally me educating someone. Yeah. So, and that's the difference between an average salesperson and a great one. Because the great one or the average one thinks, oh, I need to manipulate you and forcefully throw stuff down your throat, and I got to beat you down and hard close you, but you don't. If you just educate your consumer, your client, on why this is going to benefit them, and maybe what are going to be the risk if they decide not to, then they're gonna make the decision themselves. Right. And it's all about allowing your clients and consumers to be able to make the decisions by themselves, making educated at that. Right. So I like that you're giving away the content for free, essentially. At some point you're going to give it away, but you're also going to insert yourself as a knowledge broker. It's important that we're the knowledge brokers, because a lot of times the news is the knowledge broker, right? Which they're not. I don't think that they're a very reliable knowledge broker, right? Because they get views based off of negative stuff. Drama, things like that. Yeah. So if we're the knowledge broker, especially for you, right? You're the knowledge broker for marketing, so they know, man, this guy knows how to do X, Y, and Z. Plus, you teach them courses, and then also you can handle it all for them, full service. Why not? Especially with the dentist example you gave, that's a lot, man. If you're multiplying, I can only imagine what one dentist takes care of. I'm guessing they probably take care of, I don't know, 24 patients a day, maybe, right? And,
Yeah.
and how much revenue is that, right? And then you start doing the math. You're like, man, you got 4 new dentists.
Yeah.
And you bring that into every single little business, and then now you have not occurring. It's not now. You're not just doing occurring charges. You're doing reoccurring, right? Because now these are reoccurring guests. It's actually something that Alex Ramosi said.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Oh my!
I just saw that video too. Yeah.
Bro, when he said that stuff, I was like,
about gym launch and everything. Yeah.
So your goal is not to do one-to-one sales. It's to set up. It's to go after reoccurring sales, right? And how it's like, how do I build a business? All by word of mouth. It's by the service that I give, right?
Right.
People are going to want to work with you if you're treating them the right way and you're educating them in the right manner. So you're going to naturally get referrals. And he was like, what if you just get 10 guests every week, once a month or, once a week? And that's all you focus on and gave them the best service. Those 10 people are going to go tell, they're 10 or 20 people. And you just do that weekly. The compound interest you're going to get from that is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of just thinking, it's got to be that one sale. I got to close them. You got commission breath, Yeah. And that's a scary thing with, I think, car salesmen. They get this stigma. Or even if you're going to the furniture store, do you need help? No. Get out of my face. But when you lead with education, I think that you're setting I think that's a foundation that you can build on.
Right.
Leading with education is such an amazing, important foundation for building a business. It's literally just educate everyone, and they're gonna make the decisions. Especially if you're genuine and you want to help others, dude. You're gonna win.
Right.
So
well, and to give an analogy on it, when we educate versus sell, it takes it to where even like body language, right? When we talk about like how am I interacting with somebody in a sale, what I would always do, if you notice when I was selling back when I was a title rep or anything like that, if there was an agent I wanted to work with, I'd never sit across the table from them. I'd sit on next to them. And the reason is because I want to align myself with them, right? So when we sit together, we're studying together. Let me show you this. This is really cool. Let me do this for you. If I have a computer or a laptop and I turn it and I'm like, well, this is what the data is predicting, and then this and this, it's like, it feels so salesy, right? Like that. But if we just do something simple like that, where, hey, let me just jump over there with you and let's look at it together. And then let me explain this to you on why it works. And if you have questions, ask the questions. Like, I want to inform you, let you know where you're going at. And if you don't like it, dude, it's totally fine. Like, I'm just here to show you this thing. And if you like this thing, that's awesome. Let's move forward. If not, dude, hey, call me if you need anything else, but just that quick little alignment of let me show you this thing and let me explain it to you, instead of just, oh, here's why. And for agents, what I would always talk to it with something like that is like a listing presentation, right? Like, we always want to like, oh, here's my pretty iPad or my template or my this and that. Like, how can I present it to somebody in a way that doesn't feel salesy? You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of how you could do it is, let me jump on that side of the table. Let's go through this together. Let's sit on your couch. Let's get comfortable. Like, what is it that is where is your most comfortable spot in the house? Yeah. If you're walking into somebody's house and you see they have a lot of the, like, the hallway rugs, like the runners. Yeah. Most of the time when people have those, it's because they pace. It's because they walk around a lot. Right, so they're probably not somebody you're going to sit down at a couch, because they got ADHD like me and they like to move around. So maybe we stand up at the counter and grab a couple waters or something, and we kind of pace around the house together. But again, it's just that alignment with them. So when you're with them, you are educating them, but you're like, I'm with you in this. Like, I'm going to chameleon myself into who you are and what you're doing. And it's like, those are some of the little tricks. Like, when it comes to sales, is like, I don't have to throw like the hard sales at you. I don't got to do this and other, but finding those little nuggets that work for you are.
Yeah, that's it right there, man. That's good stuff. It's important. And I had the same example explained to me before as well. It's like, when you sit in front of somebody, like, you don't want to take a meeting when you're sitting in front of each other, because then it feels like judgment, right? The only time that you're on the other side of the table is literally, oh, the teacher's, the teacher's judging you, or the judge of the courtroom is judging you. So, yeah, you want to at least be diagonal or next to, so that way you can work on providing information, and then they're open to receiving whatever you're giving, right?
Right.
So that's super important. Man, this was really good. There was a lot of good nuggets that I think I'm gonna be able to pull out and make some videos out of. Was there anything I want to jump into? Like, what is the big why that you have?
Oh God. Oh.
What
man.
is it? Like, what gets you up? Why are you here? Why'd you start the company? Like, what is it?
Okay, so I hate this question. So it's like there's an interview with Tyler the Creator, and he's like chasing this guy down because he's like, well, what inspires you? Like that's like when you talk to an artist, not saying that I am an artist by any stretch of the imagination, but when you talk to an artist, like that's the number one question they get is like, what inspires you?
What's your why? Okay, well, what if we
no, but let's do this. Let's do this. I got you. As an entrepreneur, our question is, what's your why? Right? Because we all focus on a why. I hate the question because it's so cliche. Like my natural answer is because of my family. I have 2 boys at home that I need to provide for. I want to be a good man so that when I pass, they know that their dad was a great man.
Okay.
And that's naturally like the why you hear. My honest why is I feel like I have something to prove to the world and to myself. I made a promise to myself a long time ago that I wouldn't go back to living a lifestyle that I was stuck in, and that was like days of being in the van and things like that. So what inspires me isn't to do what others don't, but it's really to never be stuck in a position where I have to take orders from other people.
Yeah.
Not because I want to. Like if I work with somebody, then like of course, like if you need something done, I'll do it. But I don't want to ever be stuck in the position again where I'm looking at somebody, I'm like, what do I need to do because I need this thing so bad, right? So I guess my why is freedom, right?
Freedom.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily financial freedom, but it's freedom in the general sense of the term, right? Yeah. If I want to take my kids to Disney, I want to be able to do it financially and time allotment. If I want to wake up tomorrow and start a podcast, I want to be able to do it. If I wake up tomorrow and I want to do X, Y, and Z things, I want to be able to do them. And at the same time of having that freedom, I want to be able to accomplish all the things that I've told people that I was going to do and maybe not have done yet, right? Okay. So for a why, I guess that's my why. It's selfish. It's not like so much about my family or this and the other as much it is just like never getting back to a place where I have to. It's living in a place where I want to.
You know what though? You being selfish allows the lifestyle for your family.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something I learned a little while. If I'm not selfish, I can't grow and provide the time and the resources for my family. So you have to be, and yeah, it's gonna sound selfish, but you have to be, right? Because if you're not operating at A+ level, 100%, 150% of whoever you need to be,
mm-hmm.
how can you provide those resources, time, finances, whatever it is? So at some point, you do have to be selfish. Of course, it's important to give, but you have to be selfish in that aspect. So you know what? I'm going to change the question next time when I ask it. I'm going to ask, so what is it that allows you to focus when you don't feel like focusing?
Right. What's your why?
For me, what's my why?
Yeah,
and you know what? It's actually very similar. My big thing is, and like, because my wife is, I don't want to say, she is materialistic at some point. Not like super overly top, but I want to be, this is where I want to be. I want to be able to, like, babe, you want to go to Louis, Gucci, or any of that stuff? None of that stuff is important to me. I don't have any of that.
Right.
But if she wants to, great, because that's important to her.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to provide for my family at that capacity and even more. Are we going to Paris? We're going to London. We're going to Disney World, wherever it is.
Right.
I don't ever want it to be like, nah, we can't do that.
Right.
Right. Or as of right now, it's like, well, no, all right, let's figure it out. As of right now, the answer is let's figure it out.
Right.
But I want to be in a position to where, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Whenever. Time, because time's important.
Oh, yeah.
And for us to be able to grow and experience things, I got to be able to be financially free first, and then I can be time free. So that's that's part of it. The other part of it, and this is something that really drives me, is I want to be able to impact a minimum of 100 people and turn them into six-figure earners because they came across me. Six people, at least 100 people become six and seven-figure earners because like even just this year I've had 10 people on my team that have done a deal. 10 different people. I just started my team like a year ago. Right. And I've had 10 different realtors on my team that have at least done one deal.
Okay.
So I know how to get you started.
Right.
And that's exciting, right? Because now I'm like, all right, I have somewhat of a foundation there, and I can take you from you at least doing one deal to now you're doing one a month. Now you're doing 2 a month, right? And if I can, when I get there's going to be a point where I have 100 realtors under my team that, okay, now they do 1, 2, 3 deals a month.
Right.
And now all of them are all making six figures, right? And who are they blessing? Now I'm blessing a lot of people because it's those 100 people plus everybody underneath them.
Right.
And now I'm blessing thousands of people.
Right.
Right. And then it just keeps going. Right. It keeps going. So that's one of my first big why is my family, time, and freedom. My other one is help as far as business is I want to be able to bless, empower 100 agents who make 100,000 plus per year. Right.
That's powerful.
That's powerful, right? Because now I'm helping countless. Because it's not just okay. My agents make 6 to 7 figures, and now their families are affected. Now the merchandise, the people that they shop from get affected.
Right.
So that's a lot of economy that comes through because we have systems, foundations, leads. We have everything put in place for them to really grow and inspire the world. And I want them when they get into position to do the same thing.
Right.
And now we're multiplying as entrepreneurs. The world needs entrepreneurs.
Oh, 100%.
They need us.
We're the most important things in the world.
Literally. No, I mean, we are.
No, we really are. Yeah.
But when we break it down,
that's what the fundamentals of our country.
Yeah, literally. That's the fundamentals. And then it's, the more people understand like what being a successful entrepreneur is, I'm like, oh man, I should do that because once you're like, I don't have to ask somebody if I want to go on vacation.
Right.
If after this set we're like, you know what, I'm going to Disneyland. Cool. There's nobody to be like, hey, you can't do that.
Right.
Why? Because now we had a team, right? Hey, I need you to cover this or that. But just that freedom and flexibility to have control of what I'm going to do today, it's amazing. It's a burden and a curse. It's a curse, but it's also a luxury, right? So it's both. As long as you manage it correctly, it's amazing. And just, you know what I look at a lot is I think about this very often. I'm like, man, like I'm not there yet, but I'm thinking about hitting the back 9, right? Hitting the back 9 of your life and be like, shit, how much more do I have?
Right.
At that point, I want to be financially time free, like both. I want to be free from both. I don't have to worry about bills. Well, bills, I'll have them, but they're covered.
Right.
Time, whatever I want to do, I can do. And I think at that point, I'll probably only be coaching at that point. It'll be business building and coaching, right? And just growing other businesses. There won't be any more belly to belly sales and things like that.
Right.
And that's the focus. So eventually, I don't know what episode I'm gonna do. I'm thinking episode maybe either 50 or 100. I'm gonna have somebody interview me.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah. So not to start it prematurely.
Yeah.
But as you're going through this, and you said you got 10 people on your team this year, and I kind of know the answer to this, but
yeah,
when in becoming a successful entrepreneur or a successful real estate agent, when you're finding these people and you're helping them get to the first deal, what are some of the things that you're instilling in them or that you're teaching them to be able to not just get the first deal, but to teach them to fish? Like what is the thing that you're going after to get them to understand, to be able to do that, rinse and repeat, and build scale? Because everybody's question is like scale, like to get to financial freedom, to get to the place where you say, well, I'm leaving today to London, you guys cover it. All of that is scale, right? But what do you need in order to get there, to be able to have that kind of scale? Like what is it that you teach to be able to do that?
Yeah, you know what? With everything, And this is something that you learn personally, right? It's mindset, right? Mindset and experience are two of the top things, because it's almost impossible for you to emulate doing a deal in real estate, because there's such a mindset shift that happens from you not doing a deal to you doing your first one. It's such a crazy milestone. Now, if you do, if you go from deal, I don't know, 47 to 48, there's no big difference.
Right.
But going from 0 to 1, just giving you that belief that
you can do it.
You can do it. It's substantial, because now you associate that belief with the habits. Okay, what habits do I need? I need to lead gen. I need to follow up. I need to role play, right? Because if I'm lead genning but I'm not role playing, then I don't know what I need to practice. And there's nothing more costly than to practice on prospects.
Right.
Right? I mean, either way, you're going to be practicing on prospects anyways. But it's cheaper and more beneficial to practice real time with people who've been there, or people who are growing as well, just like you. I mean, Kobe says it, Kawhi Leonard did it. They all practice real time, just exactly how they did it in the game. Because if you practice like you play, then you're gonna win, right? Like in real estate, if you have somebody who's they're prospecting but never role playing, every time that they miss an objection or they miss something that they could have prevented through role play, they're missing on $5, $10, $15, $20, $30,000.
Right.
If you're in LA, maybe up to 60, 70, 100,000, right?
Yeah.
Is you not blocking out 30 minutes of your time worth losing that much money? That's expensive. It starts getting very costly once you start taking a bunch of loss. You're like, oh shit, I'm losing tens of thousands of dollars because I choose not to practice.
Right.
So that's why we talk about it. So role play, lead gen, follow up. Those are the most important three, right? And then you have appointments and negotiations. You gotta be good at going on appointments. You gotta be good at negotiating, and that's just understanding your contract.
Right.
But yeah, it all starts with mindset. It all starts with mindset and experience. I think those are the top two. Is being able to get them into that experience of what an escrow feels like.
Right.
Because a lot of I think it's like, there's a crazy number. I think it's like upwards of 50 or 60% of agents right now, like currently, have not done one deal.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, it's like the 90-10 rule, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 90-10 rule, but that's what I would definitely say, and I've expanded on this on plenty of videos, which I'll continue to.
Right.
But eventually, there's gonna be a place where I have enough agents. We have the director of operations. I don't even want to be the CEO. I'm like, I don't want to be CEO. I don't want to be CFO. Like, I don't want to be any of that. Well, actually, I guess I would be CEO. I'd be the visionary,
right,
at the most part. But I'd want to let go of that role. Like, right. I want to just, hey, here's the metrics that we need to hit. Go hit them, right? As long as we're giving direction, that's all that matters. I want to come to one quarterly event, one quarterly meeting. I guess eventually it'll dwindle down to that. Okay, one quarterly meeting every 3 months. Here's what the vision is. Go execute, and do that for different companies. Not just, obviously not just real estate.
Yeah,
but yeah, man.
So you dropped a couple nuggets. One of them is that I noticed is that you said CEO and then you paired it with visionary. Yeah. Are you like a fan of like the EOS, like the entrepreneur operating system?
Yeah, so visionary, they've changed it. I think that they've changed it everywhere though. I feel like CEO is the visionary now.
Right.
Because you got to know what direction your company is moving, so you can move forward. It's like you get put driving around without a GPS.
Right.
Like, where am I going? You got to have a GPS on where you're going.
Right.
So, but no, I'd have to look more into that EOS thing.
Dude, check it out. So for, again, fucking 20th book today. For those of you that don't know what the EOS is, it's the Entrepreneur Operating System. Yeah. There's a book called Traction. There's a whole line of different books. And actually, the person that got me started on it, her name was Nicole Michael. She was an escrow officer. Yeah. And she had this little orange book, and she was like, this is how I'm going to run my business. And at the time, this was like, mind you, 5 years ago, that she had this little book. I'd never paid attention to it. Fast forward a couple years, a buddy of mine, Kevin Devereaux, not Kevin Jones, sent me this book in the mail. He said, I just read this book. It's phenomenal. I need you to read it. Didn't think anything of it, right? fast forward again, 2 months ago, I'm sitting in a meeting, and this guy has this orange book on the corner of his desk, and it's EOS. And I'm like, what's that? He goes, oh, it's the entrepreneur operating system, hands it to me. And mind you, I still have other pieces of this collection at home. So I grabbed the book and I started reading through it. And I'm like, well, this makes a lot of sense, because with anything, and in there, it's the CEO is the visionary, right? Then you need integrators. You need people that can have a vision and come up with ideas. And then you need people that can integrate those. They can bring those visions to life, and they can say, this makes sense, let's do it. These don't make sense, don't need to do these. And they start bringing that vision to life, into reality. And it's a really great way to start building an operating system, because as entrepreneurs, and you even mentioned it too, where you said having so much free time is a luxury, but it's also a curse. And it's true, because we get so stuck with like, I got some free time, that you do free time activities. Right, where if we don't have an operating system that we abide by, then our free time activities become overwhelming in our days, where we don't get anything done. So for what you're bringing to the table, and what you're saying with the 10 agents, I think is so powerful, is that by having the role playing, and then the lead gen, and then the follow up, and then the appointments, what you've done is you've created a process for them. Right. And the most important thing in our business is to be able to scale our business to a point where we're the CEO visionary, is that we have to know our moving parts and have SOP, or standard operating procedures, for each moving part, so that we can build scale, and that we can start having systems and processes that can be replicated over and over again, so there's no guesswork, right? Because our businesses don't need guesswork. Like, granted, real estate is so crazy and things are happening all over the place, and this happens in this fire, but there's only so many fires that can happen, right? There's only so many times somebody can get divorced mid transaction. There's only so many times that a house can burn down. There's only so many times that you find out that this is going to go to probate, right? But as you do those more and more, you can build that system and process where it's like, hey, if this happens, go to that little folder over there. It's going to tell you what to do when this happens, right? And you have those operating procedures that are just like clockwork. And I think that's so important for any business. And it's one that, like, the reason why I bring it up is it's where I'm at in my business. It's like I am playing role of each individual part, to the point where, like, I'm learning video editing right now. Like, granted, I have a team of editors, but I'm learning it so that I can put together, if I hire a new one, here's kind of the steps in which I want it to look, how I want it to feel, and what you should do. And I understand it to the point where it's like, I don't need to be the best editor, but I want to know it to some threshold, to where I can say, hey, I noticed that you have this computer and it might not be working so well. If you go to our office and edit for the day there, I'm going to make sure that there's a stronger computer in there, so that you can get your job done more effectively. And it's not that I need to know all the coolest transitions, or the coolest this or the coolest that, but I just want to understand it to a point where I can look at whoever I'm working with and say, how can I make your life easier? And I think that you're in the position right now with your agents, and having the years of experience that you have, to be able to say that, like, hey, dude, I noticed that you are doing this thing, or this is happening here. And instead of encouraging your agents to go get a brand new Mercedes, which I've heard people do, go get an expensive car so that you have a reason to pay your bills and you need to go work. Instead of encouraging them to do that, you encourage them maybe to, hey, I noticed that you're walking a little uncomfortable today, and we're going to be door knocking. Let's get some new Nikes that are just all black, so that your back doesn't hurt at the end of the day. We can go door knock again, or whatever that activity is. Maybe it's you make calls all day, and you notice that when they're making their cold calls, it's ineffective to do it this way, and they need a headset or something. But I think when you're, as a CEO or the person in charge, to be able to understand those moving parts, so that you can build efficiency into the lives of those that work with you, really lends into the culture that you're building.
Yeah, culture is everything. And just touching on what you talked about right now, a strong visionary, I feel like, is able to identify gaps and opportunities within their people and within their business and within their systems, right? And you're always, for me, I'm always doing this. I'm like, all right, how can we become more efficient? That's just how I naturally process things. I'm like, all right, we did this, let's do it again, but how can we do it better, right? And then if we can do it better, we can do more of it, and then we can repeat it and get better and better and better. But I'm always looking, all right, what's the opportunities and gaps in my business, you know.
Right.
And I think if you present it to your team in that way, like, hey, dude, you fucking suck. Like, you know, you you can say it that way, but I feel like if we're presenting it to them in a positive manner, like, hey, you know what, I noticed that you did this, and I think this is an opportunity for us to grow, right? Maybe you did step 1 and step 3, but you missed step 2. So I think next time, let's try it with step 2 and let's see what happens. Right. So yeah, man. Anyways, I think that's basically it. I feel like we can keep going for another 3-4 hours, but we'll have you on again. So before we do that, you've already said like 20 books. So what's give me a book. It can't be the greatest salesperson. It can't be the 4 laws. I gotta write them all down. I'm trying to make the 4 agreements. I want to make sure that you're not repeating some of the books I already said.
Okay.
So give me a book that the audience can read. It can be any of the books you already said, and then we'll start there.
So just a book in general that I really like that I think people can read.
Yeah.
If you haven't read it already, you should definitely pick up Gregory Hayes' rendition of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It's not a book on business per se. It's a book on life. So it's a book written completely about Stoicism. The beauty of the Meditations is that it was written by an emperor that was never intended to publish. These were his personal diaries, right? So he was a philosopher and an emperor. And his whole thought process on life was one of a Stoic, right? So he writes about how he would sit in the sun rather than the shade when watching the gladiators fight. He would talk about how he was afraid to lose his sons, but instead of being fearful of it at night, he would love them as much as he could before he put them to bed, because he didn't know that they would be there in the morning when he would wake up. There's passages in there that are things like, when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to understand that the people that I meet today are going to be unruly, surly, mean, and rude. But it's okay because they are of the same blood as me. They may not be my kin, but we are of the same thing. And I understand that some days that people can be like that, and I need to be different. So the book itself is a fantastic book on how to disassociate with your emotions in any given moment so that you can have a better general understanding of the world, instead of being wrapped up in the emotion of the moment, right? It's an overall phenomenal book. I read it once a month. It's a short read. The Gregory Hayes is probably the most poetic and easiest to read, because if not, it's really like Shakespearean if you pick up a different version. On Amazon, it's like a red and black book with like a crow on it. So fantastic book. That one I can talk to about at length. I love the book.
Well, let's leave something for them to learn, right? I love that you put meditation out. I never thought you would. Well, back then I would have never thought you would have talked about meditation. I think meditation is important, man. It allows you to become present, breathe away your problems, essentially, and it allows you to grow personally, right? I think the meditation is very important. All right, so quote. Is there a quote that allows you to focus? Is there a quote right now going on in your life that, man, fourth quarter, this is my quote. This is what I'm living by.
Ooh, oh my gosh. A quote that I'm living by.
A saying, quote, whatever.
Dude, I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things that like there's so many of them that if I pick up one every day, it's different.
You're not going to discredit any of them. Is there anyone that you got on your mind right now?
Probably Amorphity. Going back to like the meditations,
okay.
Amorphity is that you're gonna love your fate.
Okay.
So everything we do in life leads us to the moment that we're at right now.
Yeah.
Right. And there's nothing you're gonna do to change that moment, because it's already things that you have done in the past. So whether you're sitting in traffic and you led yourself there, it's not somebody else's fault.
Yep.
So it's to love thy fate, and I think that's probably the quote that I'd say that I love the most right now, because even though I am going through different trials in owning and operating a business, even though I'm going through different trials of raising children, I'm trying to better myself as a man, it's that no matter what trial it is, I have to look at it in the sense of, I love this, and this is here to empower me and to teach me that what's going to happen next is going to be better for me. So if I said that there's a quote, it'd probably be that quote because of those reasons.
I love it, man. Well, good shit. I'll see you next
All
time.
right, cool. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you guys next time. If you guys got value out of this, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys.